leaving their country with everything that they had to go on a boat and then live in a detention, well, a refugee camp for 4 years. Like nothing I do will be ever as hard as that. So I should probably just give it a go. I didn't apply for MasterChef for season 10. My best friend did for me. She knew how unhappy I was in the career that I was in. I was a DJ, and towards the end of my career, I was really over it. I think it was the expectation of having to be drunk and having to be the life of the party that I really got over, especially when it was like 4 nights a week. So we were away. I remember I was in Bali on a health retreat, and one of my girlfriends was there with me, and she literally was just like, "Hey, I applied for MasterChef for you." And I was like, "What?" And then obviously the application was incomplete because she doesn't know everything about me. So I got an email saying, "Hey, would you like to complete your application?" And that's how that all kicked off. Cooking was always like my happy place. I would have friends over once or twice a week. There will always be themed nights on what kind of food I wanted to make and things like that. So my best friend Sarah, who I'm still very close with now, she knew that food made me happy. But like I think with MasterChef, it's one of those shows where I don't think that you'd watch the TV going, I could do that. So I think that stops a lot of people from applying. And I was just like, I'm a home cook. I don't know how to do any of this. And then it kind of just like, it happened. It was really hard. Like I remember thinking, it's a TV show. Come on. And then I remember the first couple of weeks being in there and cooking and being like, oh my gosh, this is real. And everything is really difficult. And the time limit is real. And the judges are scary. And people are just like running around because we're all like amateur. Like when we don't know what we're doing. So like we're running around in this kitchen. I'm like, this is not safe. Everything is messy. It was really difficult. It takes 7 months if you get all the way towards the end. And I think on season 10, I came third, which means like I was shy by 1 day. And I was like, wait a minute, this is a lot of time. But I think a lot of people don't understand that MasterChef, you don't need to be the end person to go on MasterChef. As in like, you don't need to be at the level that you are at the end, because what happens is because the show takes so long to film, right? You grow a lot during it. As in like, if you're spending 6 months, 7 months doing anything, you're probably going to get really good at it, right? Like when I was on season 10, there was no phone, there was no internet, there was no contact to the outside world. You're in a house. All you're doing is cooking. So you grow, you learn, you become a lot better. I think when you leave any reality TV show, including MasterChef, you're kind of confused. You don't know what you're doing next. You don't know like what happens from here. And it's like, it's this massive crash, right? Because it's like you're on this high of being like this massive life thing, like a life event for yourself, like a milestone. And then it all just goes away. And you need to then figure out what you're going to do. So I jumped into the first thing that I jumped into. Well, it was 2 things. I bought into my restaurant, the George on Collins. And that was literally in the first like 6 months, the conversation started, and I was signed there ready to go 6 months after the show aired. And I also signed on to host My Market Kitchen in the first 6 months, which was a TV show that aired on Channel 10. And I think it's now on SBS. There's reruns of it now on SBS. But those were my 2 big things. But those were 2 things that I really wasn't out searching for. Yes, to the TV stuff, I was kind of like, okay, what happens now? But the restaurant thing really fell into in front of me, and I just had to make a decision, and I took that risk. It's a lot of work. And that's what I kind of realized in the two years following my first season of MasterChef. I learned the most that I've probably ever learned in my like adult life. Like how to run a business, how a commercial kitchen works, how food works, and how recipes work in general. I love attention. No. That, but also I actually didn't say yes straight away. I said no a couple of times. I felt as though with the restaurant, the George on Collins, I was really happy. I was already like I felt like I had found my groove. It was going good. And I just didn't want to do anything that would risk it. Because I felt like if I went first, then it's like, what happens to my restaurant if I was the first one to get kicked off of All Stars, or for Back to Win? So I was like really unsure. And I remember speaking to the producers about it, and they're like, no one's going to look at you that way. Even if you go first, no one's going to see you as a failure. I think we should just do it. So I was like, you know what, whatever. Sign back on. First day of filming, walk into the elevator, Poe and Reynolds are in the elevator, and I went, oh God, I'm going to lose. as soon as I got there, I went, I'm probably not going to win. So let's just have some fun. And I went on that season and I was just chaos and I loved it. It was so much fun. It was like, I think my cooking style completely changed from season 10 to 12, where I really figured out the way that I like to cook and what I like to eat. And I was no longer afraid of getting eliminated. So I was just making things because I wanted to. And I felt like that was such a more enjoyable process for me. There's two, and they're current things. There's actually a lot, but like these were like my goals coming onto season 10 of MasterChef. I wanted to work with an international brand. And I always thought airlines. I don't know why, but I always thought airlines. So I'm currently the chef for the Amex Centurion Lounge. So I do all the menu in their lounges in Melbourne and Sydney. And I love it. Like my relationship with Amex, I'm obsessed with. It's been like I was one of their ambassadors for World Pride. That has been such a highlight to be able to work with an international company. But also from that, when I was watching MasterChef in season one, two, three, or four, the prize was an article or like a 1 year column in Delicious magazine.
Mhm.
I'm a writer for Delicious now, and I got my first cover this month, and like that has been like a life changing moment. I don't like it's a weird thing because I feel as though people don't look at it and go, that is not the biggest thing you've done. But for me, it is because it was something that I had my sights set on when I went on the show, when I was watching the show, and it was taken away as a prize when I was on the show. But like, I've always just wanted to write for Delicious, and now I'm a contributor. Like, I'm doing, like, yeah, and I did my first feature this month and got the cover. And I was like, this is the most amazing moment. I think the aim of MasterChef, okay, I could be wrong, and I'm not trying to put words into the producer's mouths, but it's not just about winning. With MasterChef, I think why we love to watch it is there are certain moments where certain contestants figure out that this is what they want to do. They're a little like, and it doesn't happen for everyone. It doesn't happen like for all 24 contestants, but for me, it happened, I think, at like top 8 or 9, where I cooked something. And I remember I just started crying at the end of the cook. And they were like, oh my God, you've messed this up. That's why you're crying. And I went, no, I haven't messed this up. This is the best thing I've ever made. But at this moment, if this dish doesn't win, I don't think that I can win this show. And I don't think that this is for me. And it's really sad because I now have fallen in love with this and my best might not be enough. And yeah, so I think that was like a penny drop moment. So I'm really thankful for that because I don't think that that could have been discovered anywhere else. I think it was me being in that situation where I was like really forced to cook every single day that I went, do I want to do this? Or do I not? Is this just a TV show for me, or is this my career? And that was a moment when I went, no, I want to do this. I love MasterChef. Like I just
Yeah.
really love MasterChef. I'm so thankful for everything. Like the first judges, like they were so supportive. The second, a lot of judges, the new judges were super supportive as well. Like it's just they are able to nurture you and support you and make sure that you kind of figure out what you want. So yeah, that's great. And the platform's incredible. Like there's all these people from all over the world who know who you are because you made a chocolate fondant cake. Like, come on. I'm in pre-production for another series and we're going overseas for this one. We don't know the name of it yet, but it's basically I get to just travel and eat and talk about the food history. Like dream job. That's kind of been like when I came off MasterChef, there were all these little goals, but the end goal was to always host a TV show where I get to travel and talk about food and learn about food and eat good food. And I feel like we're inching closer and closer. Obviously, with any TV show, the first season, yeah, great. But the first season is not like it. It's like you got to try and get to season 3, 4, 5 before you're like, oh no, this is a tried true. This concept works. It's going to continue. So, but I'm happy that we've got the first season up and going. I think the doing everything thing comes from my parents, mum and dad. Well, I'm a refugee. We're all refugees. The three of us, mum, dad, myself, are refugees. My sister was born here, but they kind of gave up their entire life to potentially give my sister and I something better, right? So I have always gone into the world thinking if I have a chance to do something, I should probably do it because if not, I'm kind of throwing away something they've given me. So when things come up, I'm like, yeah, let's just give it a go, because this probably wouldn't have come up if I was born in Vietnam and I was staying when I was still living in Vietnam. Like my life would be completely different. So I try and do everything possible, because nothing that I do will be as challenging as them leaving their country with everything that they had to go on a boat and then live in a detention, well, a refugee camp for 4 years. Like nothing I do will be ever as hard as that. So I should probably just give it a go. We all come from somewhere. And for me, like we came from like 2 blocks of gold. I think that's all that mum and dad had with them when they came over to Australia. And they lived like, I just don't like. I always think about the fact that no matter how bad of a day or how bad I think my situation might be at any certain point, they literally lived on an island for 4 years to try and go to a new country. Like nothing's going to be as hard as that.